Hello and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm Commissioner Director Tom Arnone. Today we are joined by Samantha Giustiani, the Vice President of Education and Outreach at the Count Basie Center for Arts in Red Bank. Welcome, Samantha.
Thank you for having me, Director Arnone.
Oh, so this is a great honor. I'm a big fan of Count Basie and all the great things. Share a little information, just a generalized information before we get into some of your exact functions and some of the programs.
Sure. So Count Basie Center for the Arts is a nonprofit arts organization in Red Bank, New Jersey. It's home to two amazing venues, the Vogel and our historic venue, the Hackensack Meridian Health Theater.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and our Grennan Arts and Education building.
So I know that you've been affiliated with the Basie for 15 years or so. And what exactly is your main focus and function?
Sure. So I started at the Basie in 2010 as a teaching artist, teaching 1 day a week. And now in my role as Vice President of Education and Outreach, I oversee all of our education and outreach programs, which include programs on our campus, programs in schools and community organizations, programs that are some statewide celebrations, and so on.
So I know that it's very involved, the educational side is very involved in the arts and dealing with the urban towns and dealing with, children that cannot or might not have the ability to get to the Basie. And so how does that work? How does that get organized? How do they get there? What is the day schedule that involves with all that?
Sure. So I think from my perspective, a lot of people, when they think of the Basie, they think of the shows that they see during the evening, right? And while we do have classes on site after school time, we do a lot of work during the day. So that can be, for example, we have a program in Red Bank Primary School where every day for the school year, we send a teaching artist that's there during the day, during the student's second
Goes
ELC
to
time.
their school or
Goes
comes
to their school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So to your point about access, right? We're always trying to make sure that students have access to the arts, whether that's through our scholarship program to make sure that tuition and cost is never a barrier, but also, transportation. Red Bank has a robust public transportation system, but that's not true of every town that a student's coming from.
Exactly.
So how do we go to them? How do we meet them where they are at their Boys and Girls Club, or their school, their community organization, whatever it may be? So we kind of have twofold, and then we kind of case by case figure out the ins and outs and how do we make sure a student's successful.
So actually, I never realized that it's almost taking it on the road.
Yeah. Yep.
There. That's amazing, and that's really special. And I know that there's a lot of different types of programs that you hold just for children at Count Basie. What are some of those? And I'm sure coming into the holiday season, there's even more.
Yeah. So of course we have our holiday shows, Broadway tours of Elf and the Nutcracker, but we also do just school-based shows like our school show program, which we're so incredibly grateful for our county commissioner's support of. That buses in students from all over the state, obviously a huge amount of students from Monmouth County, to see sometimes for the first time their first live performance. So we are doing the Nutcracker in December. We do a varied amount of shows and different art forms throughout the year. So we'll have Stomp, The Color Purple. We just had a Dia de Muertos show, Sugar Skull, just to make sure there's something for every age group from pre-K to 12, and some variation of art form. So they'll see some dance. We've even done live visual art performances on stage before. And it really provides, seeing a kid walk in and their eyes light up and they start to scream when the lights go down to see their first show sometimes is just, I've been doing that program for 11 years now, and I well up every time it happens.
So you touched a little bit on my fellow commissioners and myself on a funding source grant that we do, and for the public to know that we budget a certain amount of dollars during the beginning of the year to fund the program for children there at Count Basie, because we know not everybody has the ability to do and get to venues like that. And to hear now that you have that outreach on the outside, that's even more special.
Yeah.
There. So I know that a lot of it to success is kind of tied to your community partners and having a big base of community partners. And I think that really makes it what's Count Basie being nationally known there. What are some of those community partners that you deal with?
Sure. So, as someone who was the benefit of community organizations as a young person, we firmly believe that access to the arts is part of someone's overall health and well-being. However, you can only participate if all of your other needs are also met. So we work with organizations like Lunch Break and Fulfill, if there's a food insecurity, working with our Boys and Girls Club. Again, if that access coming to the center is not possible, let's go to you, right? So it's really about finding the partners, and we have such a robust nonprofit sector in the county that making sure if we have a family that has a specific need, we know we can go to Parker Family Health, right? We know we can go to a Lunch Break. We can recommend the library. So it's really about making sure we have a right network as an organization so we can serve our families in the community.
Now, do you, your outreach that you have to the schools and to the children, do you guys let it be known? Like we have 53 municipalities, so I use for example. And I know a lot of in our urban areas, I know that you have a big outreach there too. Do you notify them and let them know that this resource is available?
Yeah, so we do extensive outreach not only to community organizations, but also our schools. As I mentioned, we have programs from pre-K all the way through high school seniors. And again, scholarships for graduating high school seniors, like our county commissioners, Basie Scholarship for continuing education. So there's lots of different modes of outreach we do to make sure needs are met at every grade level, at every journey an individual student or family is having.
So how can people be aware of these educational programs? And do you have programs there that if it's not tied to a certain school district, that just a random child is very interested in the arts and wants to be involved, but maybe his school's not as involved in it and they're not part of your program, that they could individually be part of it? Is that possible, and how could that happen?
100%. So we have a very robust Turner Academy of the Arts. So we have classes for students ages 4, and we have students in their 80s taking private music lessons through our classical conservatory. And that program also has a very, very extensive support scholarship component, again, to make sure that finances are never a barrier. So regardless of where a student's coming from, if they are interested, we'll find a way for them to succeed.
And that's what's important. And that's kind of why we, the commissioners, feel very strongly about that grant that we award every year. And this just is even more exciting to see how you're utilizing that grant to the benefit of what it really, really is meant to happen there. Not everybody is privileged as to have all the great things that a lot of people, and that most people think that everybody has. They're just not all there. And to have programs like you just said before, Lunch Break, Fulfill, and of course, Count Basie to offer these services. So I want to thank you. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Please pass on to Adam. He's doing a great job there too. And I know you've been there. You said 15 years. I hope you're there another 15 years because you're doing fabulous, fabulous things.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'll certainly pass that on to Adam.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha, for joining us today. That's all we have in this segment of Monmouth in Focus. We will see you next time.